Hey guys, so today we're going to take the last set of notes before break, and this is lesson 2-3, and we're going to be converting decimals to percents and percents to decimals. Now, here's the funny thing. Of all the conversions, I think this one is the easiest. So I saved the easiest for last. Pretty cool, huh? Today's date's going to be 11/15/18. So I'm going to try something. Hold on. All right. So I think our notes are going to be simple enough that we can fit it all on one page. So let's go ahead and see what we can come up with. So basically what we're going to do is to change a decimal to a percent, and we're going to talk about two different ways to do things. So let's start with this. Let's start with a percent, and let's change it to a decimal. Okay, you're not going to believe how easy this is. So let's start with a percent number. Let's start with 48%. Now, I'm going to share with you that we can get from 48% to a decimal in either 2 steps or 1 step. So let me show you what 2 steps looks like. And so what we're going to do is rename this as a fraction. So percent means to divide by 100. So we can write it like that. But once we have a denominator that's 10, 100, 1,000, then what I can do is to convert that to a decimal. So I would get 48 hundredths written this way. Okay? Now, notice what happened to the percent sign. We're going to drop it off. As soon as I turned it to a fraction, the percent was gone, right? Okay. Now, if we want to go the other direction, we can do the same idea. So this is percent to decimal. I'm going to take the same exact example. Oops, let's change it to decimal to percent. Let's just use the arrow. I would start with the decimal, 48 hundredths, which I could then read as 48 hundredths. But because it has a denominator of 100, that means the number on top is a percent number. So we take the 48, and to make everybody know that it's percent, we have to add the percent symbol, okay? So if you notice, we started with a percent symbol on the first example. We converted it to a fraction. We took that fraction and rewrote it as a decimal. And then we could go the other direction. When we went decimal to percent, we can take that decimal, we can change it into a fraction, and we can take that numerator, because my denominator is 100, and make it a percent number. So bottom line is, let's just look at what's happening to the decimal point. Okay, so let's look at the top one. Let's look at percent to decimal. So P to D, percent to decimal. So notice what happened is I had a whole number 48, but I ended with a decimal. So what direction did the decimal point move from that 48% to get to the answer? So let's write down those two values and let's check that one out. So I started with 48%, and that is going to be the same as 48 hundredths. So if you think about it, first thing I noticed that disappeared was the percent symbol. So first we're going to drop off the percent symbol. Okay, so just are thinking about 48. Second, the decimal point shifted. How, where, why, what direction? Well, we went from a whole number to a decimal, and we moved the decimal left twice. So we're going to move decimal left twice. So the good question is, what allows me to move the decimal left twice? Well, remember how we wrote it here, and we wrote divide by 100? This is precisely what we're doing, is we're actually dividing by 100 to change a percent to a decimal. So I'm going to write that here, divide by 100. Alrighty, that's pretty cool. Let's try the other direction. Let's go decimal to percent. So again, I'm going to write down what we started with, which was the decimal, 48 hundredths, and then that's going to be equal to 48%. So the number changes, and again, it moved right 2 spots. So that's the first thing. I forgot a word over here. Let's add a word back over here. Move decimal left 2 places. And over here, we're going to say for the first step would be to move decimal right 2 places. So if you think about it, in order for me to move 2 places, I'm multiplying by something that starts with a 1, because the number's not changing. And so decimal points, I'm going to actually multiply, because I'm getting more from a decimal to a whole number. I'm going to multiply by 100. And then the second thing is we're going to add the percent symbol. Okay? So it's as easy as that. I can either go through a fraction to get me to my final answer, or I can just go ahead and move the decimal either right or left depending upon what number I start with. Okay? So up to you to decide how you want to do that. So let's go ahead and let's do some of the problems here. So we've got, right, each percent as a decimal. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate the shortcut way on the bottom half. So I have a percent. I'm going to drop off the percent symbol and then divide by 100, which is moving my decimal point left twice. And I get my answer is 32 hundredths. That's it. That's as strenuous as the work gets. Okay? Not bad at all. All right, let's try that again. 6%. So again, first thing I do, drop off the percent symbol, and I'm going to move 1, 2 places to the left. And look at that. I ended up with a blank spot, so I have to fill up any blank with a 0. Annex that 0. So I get, here, let me write that again. So I'm dividing by 100. That's really what I'm doing. And I get the answer is 6 hundredths. Okay? Piece of cake. All right, next one. When making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, 96% of people put the peanut butter on first. Write 96 as a decimal. 96%, as a decimal. So again, what we're going to do, drop off the percent symbol and divide by 100, which makes the decimal point move left twice, and that's where I get 96 hundredths. Okay? That was pretty easy. All right, now let's go the other direction. So I'm going to move the decimal point right 2 places because I'm going to multiply by 100. That gives me 47, but then I got to remember to add a percent symbol because that's what my answer wants to be, is in percent. So I get 47%. So 47 hundredths is the same as 47%. Okay, so I'm going to move the decimal point right 2 places because I'm multiplying by 100. Now again, I have a loop that's empty, so I'm going to fill it up with a 0. And then I'm going to add a percent symbol, and I get 50%. So easy. Number 6, the last one. In a recent year, the number of homes with digital cameras grew 44 hundredths from the previous year. Right? 44 hundredths as a percent. Okay? So we're going to take that decimal. We're going to move the decimal point right twice because we're going to multiply by 100. That's going to give me 44, but because it's supposed to be a percent, we're going to add the percent symbol. Okay? And we get the answer is 44%. All right, I'm going to go back to the left, and I'm going to add one more thing. So a lot of times what it looks like is we're going to take our number and we're going to move the decimal point all the way to the end of it. But that's not the case. Remember, 100 has 2 zeros. That limits me to moving the decimal point only 2 places. So let me give you an example. And we'll talk about this when we come back from vacation. Numbers that are larger than 100% and numbers that are smaller than 1%. Now, if I want to change 152% to a decimal, I'm going to drop off the percent symbol, and then move the decimal point left twice. Only twice. Because percent means divide by 100. So what do I get? Well, I get 1 and 52 hundredths. Okay? A lot of people think that I'm going to move it all the way to the end, but that would be multiplying, or dividing, by 1,000. That's 3 zeros, moving it 3 places. So be cautious with that idea. All right, have a great time with this.